One of the best American traditions is finally here as the Chicago Bears take on the Detroit Lions for the first game on Thanksgiving Day. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down the Chicago Bears Detroit Lions Week 13 matchup. But before we get into that, we have a goal of trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think will win this game and why. Ryan, a great NFC North matchup here. The Bears need a win desperately. They have lost their last 5 games. Normally, typically, when you come out of the bye, you make some adjustments to help improving. They have not won since their bye. Detroit Lions, they are absolutely crushing it. A good win today against the Colts team. Wasn't the blowout win I think we were all expecting, just because I guess we've seen the Lions put up 40-plus, 50-plus points against lesser teams. And then that being said, the Colts did play well, and they have been improving a little bit overall on the defensive side of the ball. And honestly, a win's a win. They dominated the game, and so don't look too much into it. I want to throw over to you, though, here. Chicago desperately needs a win. And there's been some things that they have been improving on, I think, during this year through Caleb Williams' rookie season, and some things I think that have not improved or actually got worse, in my opinion. What do you think the Bears need to do to come out victorious and pull off the upset here against Detroit Lions?
Well, one, they can't quit. Sometimes I feel like you see with these teams with rookie quarterbacks, like, for example, my New England Patriots, I feel like some of the Patriots players have quit. But this offensive line, they need to keep going out there competing. They need to protect Caleb Williams. And then on the flip side of that, Caleb Williams also needs to protect them. He needs to get the ball out of his hands quicker. Right now, I believe he has one of the longest average time to throw in the NFL. And he's extending plays maybe a little too much. And what I mean by that is he's extending plays that hopefully just have an easier read, that he can just get the ball out of his hands quickly. And then when he is extending these plays, if it's not there after a few seconds of the extension, don't take a 12-yard sack and put yourself in 3rd and 22. Go and just throw the ball away, get it out of your hands, and then it's just a loss down, and you move from there. And I think that to me, I think is where it starts, in the trenches. Those offensive line guys protecting Caleb Williams, trying to do a better job up there. But then on the flip side, Caleb Williams needs to protect his offensive line guys and get the ball out of his hands quicker, be smarter and more strategic about extending plays. And if it's not there, just throw it away. Don't wait and try to force something, because I do think we saw a couple examples of both some really great extended plays by Caleb Williams today, and then also some really great in sequence, in rhythm plays by Caleb Williams. It's just we also saw the downside of him holding onto the ball for 11 seconds and then taking a late sack. So that, to me, I think is really where it starts. I think this defense is good enough to compete in this game for sure, and it's going to be, I think, a bit of a slugfest on that side of the ball, but I think it'll be a very competitive matchup, this Lions offense versus this Bears defense.
Yeah. I will say, especially over these past couple games, the Green Bay game and the Detroit game, I have seen the overall improvements from Caleb Williams. Today I think was his best game as a professional. And I agree with that. It's his second best game. And so throwing for how many yards is that? 340 yards. He had a good connection with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, his top 2 guys as well. So I think the thing for me is he's going to be making those rookie mistakes. And there's a 1 sack specifically that we were watching that was just egregious. That was a Caleb Williams sack. But in general, though, I think he's taking those strides forward. And even to last week in the Green Bay game, thought he did a great job on that final drive, put them in field goal position to win the game. I thought the same thing again here as well in this game, that Chicago had no reason really taking this to overtime, but Minnesota allowed them to do it. And so leading these late quarter drives is impressive, and what you want to see and have that capability. They got to get better in special teams. They had another blocked field goal today. But I agree with you. I think the offensive line trenches is a cause for concern for them here. Let me pull this up. So they're still 23rd overall in total rushing yards offensively. And if you look at it today, and now Minnesota admittedly is statistically the best rushing defense, only averaging 74 rushing yards allowed per game. But Caleb Williams was their leading rusher at 33 yards. And to me, I think when you go up against this Detroit Lions defense, who's fifth overall in rushing yards allowed, and I'd be curious to even see if their rushing since Aiden Hudson broke his leg, they've given up multiple games of over 100, nearly 140 yards or more. 3 times, but they've also had a couple like normal Detroit Lions rushing defensive games where they give up 75-ish yards per game, and so they're going to have to do a much better job. It's in this game in general, I think, on the offensive line and the run protection game as well. If they're able to somehow establish some sort of run, I think they're going to have a shot because it does seem like Caleb Williams is connecting a little bit more with his receiver, especially 2 weeks in a row now. Carlton Davis did get banged up against the Detroit Lions here. The Detroit Lions have a couple other injuries that we'll talk about here in a second. But so I have to monitor his status as well. I think he did come back into the game, but correct me if I'm wrong on that. But a lot of it, though, I think is going to come down to if the Chicago Bears are going to be able to compete in the trenches. Because that, I think, is the Detroit Lions' strength. Now, on the trenches, I will say, mention a couple other injuries on the offensive side of the ball. Taylor Decker hurt his knee / ankle, it looks like. Did not return to the game. So on a shortened week, that's going to be something to monitor as well. But also, too, David Montgomery hurt his shoulder, and he did not return. 2 big losses on that offensive side of the ball. Now, Lions offense still, I don't think is going to miss a beat at all. I think they'll be able to have next man up mentality. Be able to still have a good offensive line presence. Jahmyr Gibbs in that backfield, so he'll just take the workload. If David Montgomery's not able to go, then you still have to monitor Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams. But this Bears defense, though, is solid. They're top notch. They're one of the better ones in the league. If you go look at where that statistically they've given up some yards, but they've also been in some shootouts as of late. So if they're able to work up a little bit. They do need to get a little bit better presence on the edge, admittedly. But if they're able to benefit off of lack of Taylor Decker and David Montgomery, make it a little bit tougher for Detroit to run, I think maybe they could have a shot to maybe stifle the Detroit Lions offense just a little bit, maybe just enough to give themselves a chance.
Yeah, and I think they definitely can. I do want to point out like a little bit of what happened, like I guess historically. Like last year, I think this Lions team was coming into this game hot against the Green Bay Packers, and the Green Bay Packers came in and they came out explosive. And that, to me, this Thanksgiving game was really the turning point in that Packers season. They went on a nice run to end the year, went on that playoff run. Well, I say playoff run loosely. They won one game and then lost to San Francisco. But like this was the start of that Packers team kind of turning the page. And I think this could be a really good game for this Bears team to come in and turn the page on some of the past tendencies that they've shown throughout earlier in this year. So I think this is a really important game for both teams because Lions, they could almost not, well, the Vikings are 8-9-2 also.
Yeah, and they still have a game.
Yeah, and so but the Lions can continue to get these division wins and win these really important games and continue to lock up that division.
Well, and
NFC.
I think that's a good point too to kind of bring out because we've talked almost primarily about the Bears this entire video because I think it's obvious is because it's like the Lions are the clear favorites here going into this game. I think they match up well against a lot of teams just with how good that they're able to run the ball. And the Bears admittedly have been spotty, especially offensively throughout the season. This is a Detroit Lions defense that even without Aiden Hutchinson, is still – and a lot of other injuries too. Lions fans, thank you all for commenting on all the other injuries that we haven't talked about and do it again here just so everybody else can see. But there's a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and they're still producing. They're still just getting after the quarterback. Darius Smith seems to be doing a good trade as well. The defensive tackle that they re-signed to an extension, Aleem McNeil, was that his name? Yeah. So he's doing well also. The young secondary has been improving. They got a good linebacking core. And still with all the injuries that they have, they're still one of the top-notch defense. And offensively, too, they're still clicking on all cylinders. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Did he catch a touchdown today to keep his streak going alive?
I don't think he did. He didn't have a good fantasy day for the first time this year.
He's on a downturn. You might want to bench Amon-Ra St.
Brown. I know,
yeah. So, but you talk about the Bears because you're like, what do they like? They almost have to play. It feels like the perfect game to beat the Lions here because the Lions it just seems like everything's clicking for this team.
Yeah.
And so that's why for me getting into predictions, I'm going with Detroit here. It just seems like the obvious pick. Are there avenues for Chicago to win 100%? But I still think throughout a full 60-minute game, I just think this Lions team is just going to be a little bit too much for Chicago. It's going to be a good game.
And I agree with that. I definitely think this Lions team is going to come out ahead. I think it's going to be closer, but I just feel like the Lions, especially on a primetime stage where they have been pretty good over the last few years, and just how they've been performing this year in matchups where I feel like they have a bit of a offensive advantage, where they not only like beat teams, but like they try to like embarrass teams. I feel like this could turn into one of those games where we see who is the tackle that got called for the really crappy ineligible man downfield.
Dan Skipper.
Yeah, where we see Dan Skipper at the end lining up outside at the X receiver position just because they can. Like I feel like this might be one of those games. So I'm going to say it's going to be 38-24. Will be the final score here in this one.
Is that an embarrassing score to you? Or are they trying to embarrass?
Well,
you? I thought you were gonna. When you were saying all that, I was thinking like
I don't.
Score.
Okay, so like I think you look at the teams that they've done that against, and the first two that come to mind are the Dallas Cowboys, who have totally quit on this season. That also was personal based on the. Yeah. Okay, yeah, they did, but that was a personal loss, and then also I think you go look at the Jags; they have totally quit on the season. The Jags have.
Well, yeah, I think that Jags game though, for example, and we talked about this, but like they have the second stringers in like the entire fourth quarter. Like
but it was just they just absolutely embarrassed them. But then they're still doing trick plays and whatnot. That's kind of what I mean. Like
I see what you're saying. It's not like it's you go out there and you can try some stuff, see how it would work. But I think at the end of the day, though, Detroit's going to win the first game on Thanksgiving here. So it's going to be fun. This is always probably Thanksgiving's turned into one of my favorite holidays. It's probably my favorite holiday, especially now then too. I guess since I have a mortgage and a kid, and I'm realizing how expensive being Santa Claus is. So that's a separate conversation. So that's why I think Thanksgiving is much more about spending time with your family and it's cheaper. But anyways, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So also, if you're a kid watching this, Santa Claus is real. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up before we get ourselves in any more trouble. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Chicago Bears? Will it be the Detroit Lions? And on that, we will see you guys next time.